I literally can't believe what just happened. Right now there's a race on Black Ops 6 Zombies to see who's going to be the first person to ever reach the max round of 999. Just to show you guys how tight this race is and how seriously it's being taken, I'm on round 368 right now and have about 28 hours or so worth of playtime into this match since I started 4 days ago. I'm basically doing 8 to 10 hour shifts of playing every day and I'm still behind a few other players by almost 200 rounds and 30 hours of gameplay behind the front runners. Part of this is actually for a few very interesting reasons. When the update went live changing the maximum high round from 256 to 999, a couple of people had matches saved on 256 ready to continue them. A lot of you guys don't know, but when you save and quit in Black Ops 6, you load back into a brand new game. That means you can change your gobblegums, augments, guns, attachments, operators, and tons of other stuff in the menus, and it will continue your game with those new things applied. Apparently that even works for game updates too. It'll just apply that new patch to the game that you were previously playing. So these guys having a 256 game ready was a literal 10,000 IQ play by them. That's not the only difference. Out of the well-known players I know of in this race, all 5 of us are running different versions of the high round strategy. Starting with me, I'm primarily sitting on the top of the roof of the bank and using my jet gun along with mutant injections to get through rounds at a decent pace that I'm comfortable with. I actually have a reason for this though. In that same update a few days ago, Treyarch also made it so that when you're using score streaks like the mutant injection, you can't get any new score streaks to drop from the regular zombies or bosses. You can get them from using your regular weapons like the jet gun and stuff, but you're going to get them a lot less since they usually drop from the manglers. Them updating this was a really significant change because now if you were behind the bowling alley and using the old jet gun and mutant injection strategy there, you'll slowly lose salvage and eventually go broke. You simply can't gain enough salvage to sustain that area long term, so what most of us in the race have been doing is using the bank roof as a way to gain salvage for a little while. Maybe getting something like between 50 and 80,000 salvage, then heading back to the alley to get through rounds a bit quicker. I actually decided to just stay on the bank roof because it allows me to gain salvage over time that I can then use later in the game because it's a very long game anyway. This is definitely not like Cold War. The estimated time right now to reach 999 is literally 200 hours of game time, making it one of the longest zombies matches in history. So for me, I'm okay with playing slow and steady anyway. Also, contrary to what you might have heard, the maximum zombies per round is not 250. It slowly increases every single round forever. The rounds are only getting longer as the game keeps going. And if you guys appreciate the grind and all this info, then a like would really help me out so much, and same thing with a sub. Ahead of me in this race is Insomnia Virus and Mystic, who are both running a really crazy strategy actually. Basically, you apply the Hidden Impact minor augment to Melee Macchiato, then use it alongside the Void Sheath major augment for Ether Shroud. With both of them applied, if you activate Ether Shroud and melee a zombie to death, your ammo in your jet gun will recharge a little bit for every kill. I don't have an exact number of how much it recharges because sometimes knifing 6 zombies will recharge 80 energy and other times it'll recharge 50. Either way, this combined with sitting in the back alley allows them to use the bank roof a lot less because they're able to use the jet gun more often and then get more salvage from that. That also means they can play a little bit quicker than me or anyone else not using that strategy right now. For context, right now as I said, I'm on round 368 in my match. Then ahead of me is Mystic in 4th place at round 480, and then Insomnia Virus in front of him at round 510 in 3rd place. Granted, yes, they have played more hours than me, but per round they are also playing quicker than I am. And this is also the point where we run into a little bit of drama that's going on in the race between Insomnia Virus and the 2nd place player, the official KHF, who's on round 560. Quick Revive in Black Ops 6 used to be a little bit broken. There are 2 major augments that everyone is using for high rounds. The first is Equivalent Exchange, which allows you to go down, and if you kill a zombie while you're down, you will be revived without burning your self-revive, and that can be used up to 3 times per match. The other is Dying Wish, where if you take lethal damage which would have downed you, you'll be invincible for 2 seconds. Basically, you get a second chance to escape dying, and it should have 3 usages per game as well. Emphasis on the word should, because neither of them actually worked properly. If you were to save and quit the match, which happens a lot because of your game lagging and just taking breaks. Plus, I believe all of us are skipping Vermin rounds since they're actually longer than the normal zombie rounds. When a Venom round starts, if you don't know, if you save and quit the game then come back in, there's a 5 out of 6 chance that the round will re-roll to being normal zombies. It doesn't actually skip a round, but that's just kind of what we call it because we're avoiding the Vermin rounds, which are basically just brain dead and you sit in a corner the whole time. As a side effect of the save and quitting though, the amount of times Equivalent Exchange and Dying Wish could be used would reset every time, meaning you could theoretically have like 200 downs throughout a match. If you also close your game on PC, then it will just restart the round from the beginning beginning with your items back and your perks, but it only works once per round, and it's something that a lot of people really don't use. This is where the drama starts. Right after the cap was removed and KHF was streaming, he was at about round 260 and lost focus, so he took it down and closed his game to save time rather than just rebuying his perks. This was the only time that he's done that in his game since the entire match has been streamed from start to finish. Insomnia Virus happened to be watching at that point when it happened though. Insomnia then started up his stream for the day and began talking about what KHF did, saying that he couldn't respect that type of play from him. Another thing he wasn't happy about with KHF was using equivalent exchange, which he thought wasn't super legit either. Because this race is very tight and Insomnia has a lot of viewers, some of them took it upon themselves to go over to KHF's stream and started calling him a cheater and just being mean to the guy. Insomnia never told anyone to do this, by the way. I just want to make that clear. This is just a couple of weirdos who happened to be watching him at the time. According to KHF, these viewers were also coming up with random things like him using God mode glitches and abusing the augments constantly to keep his game going. Then they go back to Insomnia stream and tell him that sort of thing, but honestly I think it was just people being weird. It's calmed down a little bit, but KHF is still getting people talking about his match this way even a couple days later. And for me it's really complicated because KHF said he was under the assumption that everyone had a gentleman's agreement to use equivalent exchange because it was inevitable that it's infinite anyway with the save and quit, as long as it's like really not being abused like crazy. If someone were to have 200 downs and be on round 500, then absolutely that's something to call out, but I guess he assumed that it wasn't really an issue, which is an easy mistake to make because also I was under that assumption because the first place player was using it too, but I guess Insomnia just didn't see it that way. Personally, I just think it's a case of the game being new and the rule set's not really being set in stone since patches are constantly happening. 2 of them have happened since this race started. My thought is that Insomnia feels like he's playing the most legit out of everyone in the race and was just disappointed when he thought KHF wasn't doing the same. That's just a guess though, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth. The funniest part about all this though is that with the November 4th patch, the infinite augment uses were actually patched, and with everyone being somewhere near round 500, they're only like 35% of the way done with this game. Round 700 is the estimated halfway point, so even if anyone was abusing the augments, it would have only been for a small portion of the game and probably won't affect the ending results. Because sure, a lot of people can get up to round 200 or 250, that's not really in contention, but when the rounds start getting longer and you have to play 200 hours and you only have a certain amount of downs to go now, there's probably only going to be a couple people that will actually survive and get there. Hopefully these guys do make up after the race since they were friends for years before this whole thing went down. They've actually raced beforehand in Cold War, so like I said, I hope that they end up being friends after this. Then we finally get to the man in first place who you've probably never heard of before. Blazer935 is a French player who's a really small Twitch streamer, but he also had a round 256 ready to go for the round cap update. From then on, he was playing a lot, doing a combination of different strategies I already went through and just kept putting in the hours. He was playing like basically 15 to 20 hours a day. Because he was in first place, Blazer started to get a little bit more traction to his stream, and obviously people are going to be asking questions about his match, so Blazer, being a nice guy, was answering people's questions in English, which isn't his first language. He was also trying to give good explanations while still playing his game. If you've never done that before, then it is a lot of multitasking in your brain and mistakes can really easily happen. Blazer was on round 589 and was almost 40 rounds ahead of KHF. Because everyone is only getting through about 6 rounds per hour at this point, that is an almost 7-hour lead. He then got a vermin round and was explaining something to chat. At this point he would normally save and quit, but instead he accidentally clicked one button above and clicked through the second menu, not realizing he accidentally just ended his entire game. Almost 70 hours of gameplay and a big lead to world first ever round 999 just went up in smoke because he lost focus for 5 seconds while trying to help chat. He didn't even notice it until a couple of minutes later because he was actually quitting and then showing someone a class setup to use for the GS45 pistols. He only noticed when he went to try to load back in. There are literally no other words to describe that other than just soul crushing, and I feel so bad for Blazer. Everybody I talked about in this video will be linked in the description. They're probably all going to be live at this point, so go show them some love for grinding so much. Thank you guys for watching. Love you. Bye-bye.